Ukrainian aviation hit a concentration of Russian forces in Novotroitske, Pokrovsk direction, with 2 GBU-62 guided bombs. Ukrainian aviation is relentlessly striking Russian positions across the occupied territories on a daily basis. From frontline trenches to deep logistics hubs, these coordinated airstrikes are inflicting heavy losses, destroying equipment, and keeping Russian forces under constant pressure. On June 25th, a Ukrainian drone strike targeted a railway train near the village of Kutuzivka. The train was transporting ammunition to Russian forces operating near Tokmak in the temporarily occupied part of Zaporizhzhia region. Footage of the strike was published by the Ronins unit. Striking Russian railways and trains is crucial because rail is the backbone of Russia's military logistics. By targeting supply routes, Ukraine disrupts the movement of ammunition, fuel, and reinforcements, slowing down operations and creating bottlenecks that weaken Russia's ability to sustain its war effort. Each successful strike delays deployments, forces rerouting through less secure paths, and adds pressure on an already overstretched logistical system. Doomed Russian troops who made a long trek through a gas pipeline to attack Ukrainian forces have been denied awards or any significant compensation for the lung damage and cancers they contracted. The news is being denounced as a betrayal. Russian Z propagandists moan that Sudzha's chimney sweeps were denied payments and awards, despite being doomed with severe lung damage, many with lung cancer or dead. They're oddly furious over being tossed 100,000 rubles like dogs instead. Fighters from the Stream Special Operation have been denied payments and awards. A measly 100,000 rubles as compensation for lung cancer, and no medals. In Kursk hospitals, these fighters were diagnosed with moderate acute bronchitis, tossed 100,000 rubles like scraps to dogs, while for some this so-called pseudo-bronchitis has already turned into lung cancer or pulmonary embolism. On March 8 this year, the Russian armed forces launched an operation to liberate the Kursk region from Ukrainian forces who had been tormenting Russians in occupied Sudzha for nearly 7 months. One of the most grueling but critical parts of the operation was Stream. Our fighters crawled 15 kilometers and 750 meters through a gas pipeline and then lived inside it for 6 days, waiting for the offensive. On day 10, they emerged behind enemy lines. What went on inside that pipeline is horrifying to imagine, but the guys pushed through and followed orders. So why are they being treated like this? Every single fighter in that pipeline suffered lung damage. They were choking. Some have already died. The worst part? Their condition is either not classified as a combat injury or not considered severe enough. So, no payments. These guys are doomed, with serious lung damage, yet they're not eligible for compensation, not even death benefits, because they didn't die from a combat injury, but from lung cancer, pulmonary embolism, or, as the hospitals initially labeled it, acute bronchitis. And not a single fighter from the 11th Brigade, veterans, Akhmat, Vostok DSHRB, 30th Regiment or 106th Brigade has received an award. The General Staff decided they don't deserve it. What's the point of this? Why was the pipeline operation approved? Why did they sacrifice so much? What are you doing? Whoever in the General Staff is against payments and awards for the Stream fighters, would you be willing to set an example and spend a couple of days in that gas pipeline yourselves? These guys did their job. They made it. They're doomed. And you're sitting there saying, we didn't send them. No payments, no awards. Reconsider your priorities, General Staff. This decision about the Stream fighters is shameful and, frankly, unmanly, comrades generals. Ukrainian military sources confirm, in the Sumy region, enemy advances have indeed been halted, and we currently have a stable line of combat engagement. These gains were secured thanks to the coordinated efforts of capable Ukrainian units. It took a lot of effort, to say the least. On a personal note, more news will arrive soon. Ukrainian Wild Hornets drone operators tested a new drone that hit 12 kilometers altitude. It's likely to allow fast, high-quality, and cost-effective recon of Russian positions in their near rear. A high-altitude drone would give Ukraine constant, deep recon capabilities, allowing real-time tracking of Russian movements and precise targeting far beyond the front lines. Russia's soldiers face many serious challenges to their morale and psychological condition, according to a Russian commentary. They face a lack of supplies, food, and equipment, poor training, denied leave, continuing slavery and bondage, and the temptation of desertion. Sviatoslav Golikov, the author of the Philologist in Ambush Telegram channel, has written a lengthy overview of the issues behind the poor morale and motivation of many Russian soldiers. He imagines it from the perspective of an army unit's political officer. Golikov highlights 6 key issues: a lack of decent material and technical support, which concerns absolutely all items. These include essentials such as food, clothing, and protective equipment, as well as vehicles, electronic warfare systems, fuel, and drone detectors. Golikov comments, "As long as all of the above is either supplied by humanitarians and volunteers, while recently there has been a catastrophic decline in the volume of collections, or purchased with the personal funds of military personnel, here, on the contrary, there is a huge increase in the volume of expenses, and therefore the volume of extortions, for which comrade commanders can summon a criminal charge out of thin air. It will not work to screw patriotism into the soldiers' ears about the strongest army in the world. As long as a soldier is forced to spend half of his salary on potatoes, onions and carrots, milk and meat, drones and incubators, bulletproof vests and normal uniforms, guns and cartridges, generators and gasoline for it, Starlinks, normal radio transmitters and repeaters, he will not perceive the patriotism aggressively imposed on him, built on lies, hypocrisy, window dressing, and show. Because a soldier is far from an idiot and sees everything. Directly real, relevant, daily combat training of both the officers themselves and their subordinate personnel. As Golikov rightly notes, there are systemic problems with soldiers being sent to the front line with only cursory training, despite official claims otherwise. What we see on the internet and TV is most often a profanation and show that has nothing in common with real combat training. At the unit level, combat training is absent in principle. The problems of mass drunkenness and drug addiction continue to exist among the troops. The drug problem is currently epidemic throughout the line of contact. This applies to both plant forms and chemicals, salt, meth, and amphetamines. Golikov comments that the prevalence of the problem is not the same everywhere, as it depends on how robustly commanders deal with it. If a specific unit has interested people, then there will be prohibition and a fight against drugs at all levels. But if the officers don't give a damn, or they are afraid to interfere, or they have taken the lead in these processes and set the tone and pace, then it's all over. Regular rotations and vacations. Golikov notes that vacations are often more notional than real. Because so many soldiers desert while on leave in Russia, they are often forced to take their leave within occupied areas of Ukraine rather than being allowed to go home. Ironically, considering that the Donetsk and Luhansk have been annexed to Russia, the border is still strictly enforced. Golikov comments that soldiers are allowed only once every 6 months for 2 weeks, which doesn't allow enough time to resolve family issues. Units also rotate out only a few kilometers behind the line of contact, giving them little opportunity for downtime and potentially leaving them in range of artillery and drone attacks. Golikov recommends that they should go to the rear, change the scenery, take a break from artillery and drones, holes and basements, go out into the city to go to the shops, eat shashlik and fruit, and finally look at women. Leave should also be for longer and more often. Continuing slavery and bondage in terms of renewal auto-extension of current contracts, uncertainty with expired contracts, lack of replacement of previously mobilized servicemen. Russian soldiers currently serve under indefinite contracts, which is very unpopular. The ongoing problem of desertion on a massive scale. Golikov says that over 60,000 men have been listed as deserters since February 2022, with more than 10,000 of them deserting for a year or more. He rightly says this is a systemic issue. He notes, if a serviceman sees that he can run away, not return from leave, desert for health reasons, pay off, and practically nothing will happen to him for this, or will someday, but it is far from certain. Then the serviceman will run away, not return or desert. Golikov complains that the Russian government has done little to resolve this, despite changes in the Ministry of Defense's leadership. He denounces a list of issues which it has failed to tackle. To all of the above, we add the lack of full support for the rear, astronomical amounts of funds burned on parades, exhibitions, forums, and other brutal bullshit that has no place in the life of a country at war, the growing problem of migrants. An M1 Abrams tank in Australian camouflage has been spotted in Poland. This comes after the previous announcement that Australia would transfer 49 Abrams tanks to Ukraine as part of a military aid package to bolster Kyiv's armored capabilities. Trump praised Putin's latest comments on U.S.-Russia relations, saying, "Putin made some very nice statements today. He respects our country. So do Xi and Kim. Last year they didn't." Trump is only focused on business with Russia than on ending Putin's war.
Told us that Vladimir Putin reached out to you to help you with the Iran crisis.
He made some nice statements today. Did you see the statements? Very nice. Vladimir Putin made some very nice statements today. Look, he respects our country again. He didn't respect it a year ago, I can tell you right now. But Putin respects our country. And President Xi of China respects our country. And Kim Jong-un they respect our country again. We were not a country that was respected just a year ago. We had a president that was incompetent. We had bad people circulating around this desk, this beautiful, resolute desk. They had, I guess, evil intentions. You couldn't be that stupid. I mean, they had evil intentions. But the world respects our country again. Thank you very much, everybody. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Start going. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Right through here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, press.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comments section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.